Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Don't do it. Do not treat the vocal minority as the majority. Do not do it. Because if you do, your worldview will be shit. You think everything is shit. That game you like, it's shit because the vocal minority said so. That TV show that you're kind of interested in, you're like, oh, maybe I might pick that up. Can't do it. Because the vocal minority said it was shit. They said a couple of things about it, and now everyone's running around saying, hey, everyone thinks this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. That YouTuber you're watching, apparently he's being cancelled. Everyone's saying so. Who's saying so? The vocal minority. A lot of things are being treated as shit these days, and the main reason was, I would say, is because a lot of people are taking things as vocal minority. They're listening to the vocal minority, and then they're running off thinking that's the majority of things, majority of people. So many things. Let's say one thing I can think to is, let's say, shit with Corey Kenshin. Yeah, remember when Corey Kenshin was caught looking at ass? That was kind of funny. But yeah, he was caught looking at ass, and then you had a few minority people in the minority who were like calling it out. I didn't even get to see who was calling out. Why? Because the majority of people were coming to his defense for the vocal minority, but they were taking the vocal minority as the majority, and then all of a sudden it's from like two people saying, "Hey Corey, I caught you looking at ass at timestamp 142." All of a sudden, those two people, now it's everyone's content. Everyone's saying that. Everyone's calling him out, and that's how the vocal minority gets spun into the majority. Why? Because people like to run with it. Why? Because if it's interesting, it brings engagement. And let me give you another example. Let's say you're a fan of a game, a show. Let's say I'm a fan of a show, but I don't mention it to many people. I just talk about it maybe to an occasional coworker, friend, classmate. But I really love the show. But I'm not vocal about it. Keyword, vocal. I'm not vocal about it. I just keep it on the down low. But not because I'm ashamed of anything. It's just that I have no desire to share my love for the show. I just keep it on the down low. No, I don't have any merch of the show, nothing like that. I simply enjoy watching the show in my pastime. Maybe it's a weekly anime that's coming out every week. I just love watching it every week. Maybe I watch it a few times. There we go. Now, let's say there's another person likes the show. We'll call him Bob. But Bob, he's a bit of a freak when it comes to the show, freaky Bob. But the thing is, Bob's very vocal about his love for the show. But he's vocal about it in some freaky ways. Let's say, Bob has a few of his goons, a few of his freaky goons. And they're very vocal about the show. They love the show that I love. But they're really freaky about it. But they're vocal about it. But it's only a few of them. Only a few. Not too many, just only a few. Let's say Bob and his freaky goons decide to freak out on Twitter because, that's where all the freaks are these days. Because Elon Musk allows them to be there. But step aside for that, for the moment. So, freaky Bob and his goons proclaim their love for the show in the freakiest and most sinister ways. And let's say a random bystander who has nothing to do with the show, doesn't even know anything about the show, whether it's good or bad, never heard of it. But he's after coming across Bob and his freaky goons, and they're being sinister. They're being devious, sinister, goonish, whatever you want to call it. They're not normal about the show. They're weird about the show. Let's say that. And so that random passerby, he sees Bob and his freak goons. His goons being freaked out. And he's like, damn. I thought the show, I've never heard the show before, but just by the way Bob and his freaky goons are moving about the show, that must be how all of these guys are about. All of these guys are like. Hey, and let's just say this random passerby, he happens to be a content creator, and he's like, you know what? this looks like some good content. Let me make a video on these freaky goons. And it's not like these goons are fake. It's like they're definitely they're in action. They're posting the pictures. They're drawing the weird art. They're doing all the weird shit, all the sinister shit. But that YouTuber, let's say, his name's not Mr. Beast. We'll call him Mr. Line. So Mr. Line, he sees this. He sees like, oh damn, these freaks gotta make a video on that. Why? Because like, hey, good content. No, nothing wrong with that. But all of a sudden, when I come across my YouTube feed, I see a post by Mr. Line, and Mr. Line has titled this video, "Hey, these fans of these shows are so freaky," and it's my show. I'm like, damn. Last that I checked, this was just a regular show and people just enjoy it. Maybe the majority of people like myself just like enjoy it in the spare time. Nothing wrong about it. We're not vocal about it, but we just enjoy it. And that's the majority of people. But Mr. Line, he's come over here and he's talking about, hey, the fans of these shows, they're all freaky like Bob and his goons. So I watch a video and I see Bob and his goons just, being freaky. And I'm like, damn. But this is only Bob and his goons. Not apart from that, in Mr. Line's video, it was only Bob and his goons. And hey, I'm not saying that there might be more of Bob and his goons, more disciples, more followers of Bob doing the freaky shit. But it's a minority. But now, with Mr. Line's video, the minority has been spun into the majority. The vocal minority, keyword vocal, has been spun into the majority. And that's how you get people thinking the vocal minority is a majority. It stems from, you see a few instances of this, and then all of a sudden, you think it's this. It's one thing, it's a little thing turned into a big thing. And then so Bob and his goons of freaks, his numbers have been inflated to massive degrees, because after Mr. Line videos, Mr. Kitty came out with a video, and then Mrs. Mouse came out with a video all about this show and its fans. All of a sudden you think, man, the fans of these shows are just crazy. They're all types of shit. And it's a tale as old as time. You see it in plenty of shows. Let's say, for example, Freeman and the Racist Gang. When I watched Freeman, I didn't know anything about the fans there. No, but I loved the show. I knew people around me, they also loved the show. But we weren't vocal about it. We just, talked about it amongst yourselves. Hey, the animation's sick. I love Yuta Nakamura. When we did that fight against the dragon. Just talking about the show. And then, next thing I know, my friend's talking about it like a few months later. The show was ended. And he's like, hey, those Freeman fans are racist as hell. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I couldn't care less. Because why? I wasn't on Twitter. The only reason I was on Twitter was to see the animation. I wanted to see the Sakuga cuts. That's about it. And now all of a sudden, it's in the forefront. I'm seeing plenty of stuff about those racist Freeman fans. But the thing is, they are a minority. And what are they? A vocal minority. But if you treat them as Freeman fans, doesn't that sound like that sounds kind of like generalist? Like the general fan of Freeman is racist. But that's not the case, because it's a minority. But again, when you use that thing as just Freeman fans, that assumes a majority. And so you see those racist numbers have been inflated. Again, no, it's not always wrong to treat these things as a majority. Like if you say, man, the fans of the KKK are moving racist like crazy, no one's gonna combat that and say like, hey, it's not always, they might just be the majority of fans and the KKK might be racist. A minority. No, but obviously if you like the KKK, you know what you're getting into. But stuff like that's more neutral. As I said, like Freeman, this is a show about fantasy and shit. Or even, My Hero Academia. Let's say, we can talk about that show. I've been hearing shit about those fans since the test of time. But I'm also a fan of the show. And I've seen other people who are a fan of the show. And it stems from people, you have a minority of people who like doing that freaky shit with the shipping and all that. But I feel you also have a majority of people who just enjoy the show, enjoy watching the show like as a normal person, and it's a lot easier for a minority or the minority to be spun out into the majority these days because in online it's a lot easier. Back when you were a kid and you watched Pokemon, you weren't you didn't head to Twitter to talk about the newest episode of Pokemon Galactic Battles. No, you watch it on like Disney XD and you're like, oh, that shit's cool. And then you watch the next cartoon and you waited until next week. That's how it worked. And that's still how it works today. Even though I like all these shows, these shows still are being broadcasted on TV and shit. Like Pokemon, I assume that shit's still on TV. And you still have kids watching that who are just kids watching it. They're fans of the show. But you wouldn't think of them as the minority. No, but when you label a whole fan or whatever as this or that, you gotta think, what is a fandom? You only count the fandom as things they do online or things on person. Now I'm kind of getting off topic because I think like fandoms are different. But regardless, you gotta stop treating the vocal minority as the majority. Why? Because then you will believe everything is shit. Again, even with reviews. Now reviews are slightly different. Because if you have like a minority but a good number of like bad reviews, I feel like that's I feel like that has some power to actually, which it should, to influence your decision on something. But even for like petty drama shit, like petty drama, as I mentioned with that Corey Kenshin video where he was caught looking at ass, a few comments, their numbers got inflated to high heaven. The majority of videos I saw, it was how he's being cancelled, but I couldn't even find a video of the cancellation in question. All I heard was it would start off with, "Hey guys, people are saying," but I couldn't show the people who were saying shit. Why? Because they got swamped out by the people who were claiming that it was a big deal. And you've probably seen other dramas. I can't really think of any other drama recently where I feel like shit is being like blown out disproportionately. But you probably know some other niche shit that's happened, whether it be art, tech, whatever, where again, numbers just being blown out of proportion. Before you think something is a majority, just think to yourself for a second. Just use that noggin of yours and just think, is this really a majority or is this just a minority that is vocal about their sinister or heinous acts? Again, I'm not telling you to now think every vocal minority is not a majority, because it can be. But just think about it before you make your opinion, because unfortunately, these YouTubers, they want to make you think everything is a majority. Everything is majority. Two people say this, all of a sudden the numbers have been inflated to 100 people are saying this. Everyone is saying this. When not a lot of people are saying it. Now, there might be a good amount, but that still doesn't give reason to get it treated as the majority. Because the minority can be vocal about it. Now, I think I've talked about this long enough, but yeah. Don't treat the vocal minority as the majority.